Hello, welcome to day 2. Today we're going to set up a thing called Putty on Windows so that we can connect to our client. If we're on Windows or if we're on Mac or Linux, we're going to have a slightly easier approach to get to it. So we're going to go the more complicated route of Windows today. You can skip ahead, look at the notes for day 3. We'll also probably mention them briefly if you need to connect via Linux or Mac. The quickest way to get to Putty is, as you see right here, if you just go to Google and say download Putty for Windows, you're probably going to see, unless things have changed, it's going to be the nice little highlighted area here. You click on the link. Otherwise, basically it's going to give you this Shiark Greenend org UK, and it's going to get you to the latest. Now the download gets you to a download page. Latest just jumps you pretty much to where you need to go. Your version's probably going to be around here, 0.7-ish. I think they do about a 1/10 of a point release every so often. Just grab the latest. There's not a whole lot of changes from version to version, so you should be ready to go. I do want to apologize if the audio quality is not quite the same today. Working on the Windows laptop, I don't have quite the same audio setup, so apologies for that. Once you get to the download page, there's 2 things you're going to want to install. From a Windows point of view, you're going to want to get the installer, the MSI file, and you're going to download this guy down here, PuttyGen, PUTTYGEN.exe. You're going to need both of those. Go ahead and download those. Once you have downloaded them, let me go ahead and do PuttyGen. Pick the 32 or 64-bit, depending on which operating system you're on. Probably most people these days are going to be Windows 10 and are going to be 64-bit. PuttyGen is pretty straightforward. What this is going to do is it's going to take that PEM file that we downloaded yesterday when we created our EC2 instance, and it's going to create a key that can be read by PuttyGen, by Putty. So what you need to do is you run it. You want to load a key, which is your PEM file. Oops, I'm sorry. I have to hit the load button, and I need it to be all files. So we'll see my PEM. There it is. Open that. And it's going to import it. You should get this. It's pretty straightforward. And then you get to save it. So all you need to do is you're going to go through here and you're going to make sure that you are set up down here properly. RSA should be fine. If you have something higher, you can always do that, but that one should work fine for you. At that point, you're going to save the private key, which is there. You can do it without a passphrase. You can add one if you want. That would be right here. The enter a passphrase and confirm. That just means it's going to ask you for that every time it utilizes it. And I'm calling mine HMB, and it's going to be a PPK file. So I saved that. I actually already had one there, so I'm going to overwrite it. You wouldn't have that. And you're done on that side of it. Now, Putty, once you've installed it, should be on your desktop. And the first thing we want to do is we want to set up that key that we just created. So we're going to go in, when we open Putty, we're going to connection, SSH, auth. And here, we're going to see a couple different options, but the key we want down here is our private key file for authentication. You can leave all of these things to default if you want. I'm going to load the key, the PPK, not the PEM, the PPK file that I just created. And then I'm going to go up to session, because I'm going to create my session. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to enter the IP address of my EC2 instance. I happen to actually have that here. Oh, there we go. So I'm going to enter the IP address of my EC2 instance. I'm going to make sure my connection type is SSH. What I want to do is I'm going to go ahead and create a save session. So I'm going to enter a name and then save it. And what that's going to do is allow me then, like you just saw with me, next time I come in, I can double click on that and that'll open it. Now at this point, I'm going to come in and be able to log in. I'm just going to enter our EC2 user. That's that default user we created, or that was created when we created our EC2 instance. And at that point now, I am authenticated with my key and I am connected to my server. The first thing I'm going to do is do depending on whether you've logged in before or not, it'll probably mention to you right in this little hello text up at the top. It's going to tell you to run sudo yum update. What that does is it's going to check for any updates that are out there, and it'll say, do you want to continue? You hit Y, and it'll update all your packages. You should run sudo yum update on at least a monthly basis, quarterly basis. Sort of depends on what you're doing. I tend to run it fairly commonly. It will prompt you on a regular basis to, if there's some big change, it'll say, hey, you might want to run this. So you can do that as well. At that point, we are connected to our server. If you're in the Mac or Linux world, let me put this up. Let's see if I can expand this guy a little bit. Then what you're going to do is you're going to use SSH. And what you will do is from your command line in Linux or Mac, do SSH-I. It's going to be the yourfile.pem. And so that I says I'm going to use that PEM file for my authentication side. And then you're going to connect as EC2 user at whatever your IP address is for your server. And at that point, you log in and it will jump right into your server for you. Now, one of the things we noticed when we logged in is that we are EC2 users. So if I'm on my server and I say, who am I? You can see here, I am EC2. I am EC2 user. You can also, if you do a who, another little command line thing, I can see everybody connected to my server. So the only person connected is this guy that's connected as EC2 user. Now, this is sort of the admin account. So the next thing we want to do is we want to actually create a user that is not the root access account, that is something that is basically for us, as a worker on our site. You'll also want to do this if you have other people that are working on your site. If you've got some developers, you probably want to create an account specifically for them. If you've got an admin eventually that comes in, that kind of stuff. You want to go ahead and create users accounts for them so they can connect, and you can have an audit trail. You can see who did what. You can restrict stuff. You can set up permissions and things like that. There's also permissions up on the Amazon side. We will cover that actually at a later point. For now, if you want to add a user, so let's add it for yourself. I'm going to add for, I'll just add one for Michael. It's pretty straightforward. We're going to use a command called sudo, which is basically says, I'm going to act like root in doing this, the super user. And so I have to be super user to create users. So I'm going to do add user. I'm going to create a user called Michael. I'm going to jump into root mode all the time. So like, remember, if I said, who am I was EC2 user. If I do an SU, typically you'll have to enter a password, but this guy's set up so he doesn't need one. Now if I say, who am I, you can see I am root. So as not the same as I am Groot, completely different. So what I want to do is I'm going to go to the home folder. You change directories, CD, and we go to home. What I will see right now is that it created this guy, Michael. I already had an EC2 user, and I actually created Rob. So I'm going to go to the Michael folder. I'm going to go in there, and I'm going to make a .ssh folder. I am going to copy, because I'm root, I'm going to copy the EC2 user SSH authorized keys. and I'm going to copy that over to the .ssh folder. Now, what this is going to do is it's going to allow me as a user to enter, to log in and use a key account that I've already created. So it simplifies us getting into our account. I'm then going to chmod, and it's going to do it without a password. So we'll see here in a minute. I have changed permissions on the .ssh folder. I got to make sure that it's basically this 700 means only I, Michael, could read it, even though I'm creating this as root. But now what I'm going to do is I'm going to change the owner of. Oh, sorry, I can't do a quick one. I'm going to change the owner and the group are both going to be Michael, and I'm going to do that for everything in the Michael folder. And that -R just says do everything underneath that. So now if I do that, I'm going to see that. Oops. If I look at everything, I'm going to see everything here is owned by Michael, including the .ssh folder. I can see that the folder above is owned by root. If I go to the folder above, I'm going to see actually that it has root owns a folder, but we have an EC2 user, a Michael, and a Rob that are owned, and the group are by the same name. Now, I need to add myself to the sudoers so I can, as Michael, so that I could do this. So I'm going to add that account. You don't normally want to do a sudoer unless it's somebody that's, like an admin or something like that. You're going to want to actually work with permissions. But for now, this is going to allow us to do all the things we need to, because this should be your account. I'm using Michael. I used Rob, which I normally use for me. Pick whatever your account name you want to be, and we're going to set it up so that you can do whatever you need to. I'm going to go in and edit the file. And if I jump down here somewhere, I am going to see, and you can use the J and the K to go through here, maybe down arrow, up arrow. It sort of depends. What you're going to do is you're going to find this section where it says root, and it's going to say all, and all, and you're going to basically copy that. So if I come in and I do Michael, all, equals all in parentheses, I can hit a tab, and then all in all caps. I hit escape, :W to save it, and then :Q to quit. And now I am done with that. I'm going to give myself a password. So let's do sudo password Michael. So I'm going to give Michael a password. I'm going to change my new password will be, I don't know, we'll do password. I'll be really useless for that. Oh, fails the dictionary set. Okay, so you can't use password. So I'm going to do, I don't know, pass 1, 2, 3. Let's see if that does that. Okay, so now I'm going to pass 1, 2, 3. Oh, based on a dictionary word. So you're going to have to figure something out that is not, you're going to have some sort of security there. So now I'm going to go ahead and do that. I'll make it a real password. Okay, password's been updated. At this point, I should be set to go. So I'm going to exit. Notice when I exit, that kicks me back to now I'm EC2 user. And I'm going to go ahead and exit completely. And now I'm going to go back to Putty, and I'm going to use that. Whoop. Oh, I guess I can do that. So now I'm going to log in as Michael. And because I did that .ssh authorized keys, it doesn't even ask for my password. However, if I do a sudo, it is going to ask for my password. So you see here that it's going to give you a little warning about being a sudoer, and then it's going to ask for my password. So we do need to remember what that is so that we're able to, so now I'm root, and I can exit, and I'm back to it. So there you go. Pretty straightforward. We created a user. We're connected to our server. Everything except for the Putty step, if you're on Linux or Mac, you will be able to do them exactly the same. Again, as always, if you have any questions, shoot us an email. Otherwise, have fun with your server. You can play around. We saw a few commands today, and we will talk to you tomorrow where we will start actually putting some software on this thing. So until then, have a great one.